Final round for me, Mark Stewart. I'm answering on behalf of what I expect is most people in the little epic party of which I'm the founder, and responding to the final 5 questions from the Constitution Party survey. These are numbers 9 through 13. I'm not going to do number 9 because I want to address libertarians as well, and 9 is a us versus them. So let's go to number 10, and libertarians and CP really can feel this, and I think should, the same way. You who are running for presidential office, I hope you will adopt this stance. It asks, where do you differ with the party's platform? And I think this is very important. Platforms are useless. Principles are good. Pledges are very good. Platforms are useless to candidates. They encumber them. They breed lies or defections from platforms. That is not good. If platforms were adhered to in our history, it might have a little bit of merit, but they're not. We know that. So they're set up, cobbled together by a majority of usually a minority of party members, okay? It's a very slim group of people that put together a platform, and they themselves make compromises. Nobody personally can embrace all 45 planks in a platform. Somebody who does that is mindless. There's got to be discrepancies from candidate to candidate, and even within a candidate who can't possibly buy in to every single thing. Don't ask her to. Don't ask your candidates to embrace something. The most important thing for your party's success on the front lines is the candidate and the integrity of the candidate. The platform holds the candidate back. I am simultaneously running for 2 seats. District seat in New Hampshire, State Senate, and District 1 seat in Connecticut, State Senate. And since one is domicile and one's based on residency, I could run for both. I could actually win both and serve both. Doable. Now, I myself might be able to embrace certain provisions of a platform in Connecticut, an all blue state. It's pretty communist. But I wouldn't want that in New Hampshire, which is still relatively free, has a nicely established free state project members going there. Look, voters rarely read platforms anyway, and 99% of those who do know that platforms don't get adhered to when a president is finally elected. So to guide voters better and to never come in for criticism when our candidates might stray upon election from a platform, we should not have a platform. The Constitution Party has some beautiful principles that I think every candidate can and should adhere to. It has pillars. It has 12 key points, issues. Libertarians, similar principles, a pledge that everyone has to take. That grounds us and grounds voters fine. Don't go into a platform. Number 11. Constitution Party's platform is pro-life. Are you in agreement? Yes, I am. And since I am a Democrat and fighting fiercely within the Democrat Party to move them to liberty, move them to a constitutional republic, here is what I say to Democrats. That I am pro-life, and you are too. You don't want to kill an innocent human. You don't even want to harm an innocent human. If I came to kill you, you would want the law to restrain me. And you can defend yourself. I'm only 5'2", and I'm physically not that strong. A baby has no defense. You can't possibly want the death of that baby at human hands. And it's not even a sacrifice. What people perceive as a burden on women, The women who give birth are doing a beautiful thing and they know it. And unfortunately, 2 generations, almost 50 years of women and men have been told lies. They're told that a baby is, or a fetus, first of all, is in your body, but it's not part of your body. They're told lies. First off, they're told the baby, actually, they say fetus because baby is too charming of a word. The liars will say the fetus is a part of your body. When it's not, it is in your body. They're told that a child at age, again, they'll say fetus, at 3, 4, 5 months feels no pain, when we know from ultrasounds there is pain. We are told about viability, which is a ridiculous argument because even a 2-year-old baby is not viable without human health. So for 2 generations, women have been lied to. And that's where there's a big distinction between women who may want an abortion procedure and the MDs who are providing it. Because the MDs know better. And they are the ones who I do believe should be either prosecuted or have their license taken away or both. And it's why, because it's not a federal license, it is a state-by-state license. It's why you have to be on the ramparts that everyone listening to this needs to be a candidate for local office or supporting fervently a candidate for local office that will restrict the ability of doctors to perform death. That will leave women with fewer people and maybe get them to think twice, 3 times about having that procedure. Maybe some education will be involved so that they recognize they can do a beautiful thing by giving birth for the sake of themselves or an adopting family, and certainly for the sake of the young child that otherwise they're about to snuff out. When women can do the beautiful thing and recognize it, it is empowering. And may God damn the generations of teachers who are saying to innocent adults, oh, you should treat it the way you want, you're free and liberated, and not be thinking about the fact that you are killing. These people are not good feminists. They are not empowering women. They are leaving women at the mercy of lies. Now, because so many women have been deceived, they don't think killing their baby is wrong. And that is why, it's one of the reasons why I do support candidates even if they are not going to put prison sentences on women. Yes, it should happen on MDs. I don't think somebody who lacks the mens rea, the knowledge that they're doing something wrong, should be put in prison. Education over time is going to extirpate this evil. I don't think locking up otherwise good, upstanding citizens is going to do that. You will create a firestorm that makes it worse. And by the way, a lot of prosecutors are just not going to do it. They are not going to lock up the 41-year-old mother of 3 who has a 4th pregnancy unexpectedly. We thought we were done. And in haste has a procedure that exterminates the baby's life. I don't think that that mother is going to be braided into the courtroom, sentenced, prosecuted, put into jail. So it would be useless right now. We can fight on all other fronts, but I wouldn't be fighting to imprison women who make a mistake. Okay, number 12. This is an interesting answer from Epic. See if you guys embrace it. Our federal departments such as the DOE, BLM, HUD, DOE, Alcohol, Tobacco and Firearms, FDA, and EPA, are they constitutional? Answer, probably. I don't see there being a problem. Article 2, Section 2 seems to permit these in the same way as they permitted George Washington to establish the Attorney General's office, the Treasury Department, the War Department, the Secretary of State's office. So these are expansions. That said, their activities are almost exclusively unconstitutional. There is no power for the EPA to do things under this Constitution. There is no authority for the Department of Education to fund or defund or restrict education under the Constitution. So without a radical change to the Constitution, these departments should be doing very little. Advising, perhaps. Doing some research, perhaps. But actively controlling purse strings, actively putting regulations that restrict our liberties, no, not available. And therefore, I would submit we retrench back to those 4 departments from 1791. And they're adequate. They are. Number 13. Do you believe the education system in America is adequate? If not, what measures would you take to improve it? Well, this is the softball, okay? Of course it's not adequate, and I rarely say of course. But we know any system that keeps people from becoming well educated is inadequate. And when done intentionally, it is evil. Theory and practice say that choice in schools works best. The theory is a broad bureaucracy can't possibly provide the education opportunities that smaller groups can, and the choice of where to go family by family can. The practice is quite established. Private's better, okay? In private schools, kids learn to read. 100% of students in private schools learn to read. That's not true of public schools. 100% of kids in private schools prefer to be there over public schools. That's not the case with kids in public schools who, if they could get out, very often would. The thing you do to get back a private education is stop funding public schools with people's money. Let people fund it themselves. Now, there's a compromise position for now because it's so hard for a family to suddenly come up with $10,000 a year times maybe 2 kids in the school at the time. So maybe it stays publicly funded for a while, weaned down, cut down, so that less and less every year comes from the public and more is with the parent who comes to expect, I have a child, I am going to be funding it myself. Now, they'll be getting a tax benefit. They might have some private welfare available from older people who have a big tax benefit by having no more school tax, and maybe that should go to struggling families of youngsters. This is the one area of welfare I believe in. Okay, I do think that state governments should consider the people who are raising our children and have financial needs so deep that it paralyzes, if that's a word, imperils the child. That deserves society's help. Single moms are especially vulnerable. I do think there's a case for some welfare to needy single moms or mothers with weak husbands. So can't earn any money, they're totally unsupportive. So private, way better. The way to get to private is at least by allowing choice in schools. And that choice is a voucher that can be used, including private schools, and that will let the private school in all its glory take on more kids, get better results. If people really want a government school, they can still use their voucher for it. I think very few will do it if they have the chance. I hope these suggestions are helpful. They represent a good swath of independents, the people who will make a difference in this election. If you want to hear more from us, I host a conference call every Friday, 5 o'clock Eastern. Join us on Zoom. Contact me if you still need the info. Thank you. Have a good week.